Every day, I share another story from the Golden Age and the moments that shaped an unforgettable era. If you'd like to keep these memories alive with me, hit subscribe. It costs you nothing, but it means a lot. Thank you for being here. Now let's begin. Sam Elliott built his life around silence. Real silence. The kind that carries meaning, not emptiness. For more than 60 years, that deep, gravelly voice and calm stare shaped how America imagined the West. He was solid, true, and unshakable. But behind that quiet strength, something had been burning for decades. A kind of sorrow, not for himself, but for a world he watched being sold off piece by piece. And in that long line of disappointments, one name cut the deepest. The man once seen as his equal in grit and glory, who turned into everything Sam Elliott swore he'd never be. Clint Eastwood, the cowboy who, in Sam's eyes, lost his soul. They were never close, not really. Hollywood liked to act as if they were two sides of the same coin. But Sam knew better. Two Western giants, sure. But to Elliott, Clint was the mirror of everything the West should never turn into. Flashy, political, and obsessed with the spotlight. The final crack came in August 2012, when Eastwood walked onto the stage at the Republican National Convention in Tampa, Florida. Millions tuned in as he dragged an empty chair across the stage and began speaking to it, pretending President Obama was sitting there. The crowd laughed, some confused, some stunned. At home, people just stared. By morning, the internet was full of memes of people Eastwooding, talking to empty chairs like it was a trend. That same night, Sam was in Texas shooting a Dodge Ram commercial. A crew member said he just stared at the screen, jaw tight, silent as stone, then shook his head. To him, Clint had turned the cowboy's quiet pride into a circus act. "He forgot who he is," Sam muttered before walking away. In Sam's world, a real Westerner never used the hat or the horse to sell politics. Those symbols meant honor, not performance. As the media mocked Clint's stunt, Sam didn't laugh. He felt something deeper: betrayal. The cowboy who once stood for quiet dignity had become a prop in his own show. Months later, Clint doubled down in an interview with the Carmel Pine Cone, saying he had no regrets and that people were too sensitive. Those words hit Sam hard. The humility he once admired in Clint was gone, replaced by a cold kind of pride, the belief that fame meant freedom from consequence. "That's not the Clint I respected anymore," Sam told a close friend. "Now he's just an old man who thinks he is America." From there, the distance only grew. Eastwood's later films, American Sniper, The Mule, split audiences in two. Some called him fearless, others said he glorified arrogance. Sam stayed silent, but the people around him noticed the shift. Every time Clint's name came up, Sam's jaw would tighten, his eyes darken, like he was watching a sunset over something he once believed in. Then, in a 2016 Esquire interview, Clint said, "We're living in a generation where everybody's afraid to speak the truth." That line exploded online. Fans praised it, critics tore it apart. But for Sam, it confirmed what he already knew. The man who once spoke truth through silence now used words to serve his own ego. To Elliott, a cowboy's silence said more than 1,000 speeches ever could. And when a man broke that code, when he used the West as a stage instead of a way of life, he wasn't one of them anymore. By the time the decade closed, Sam and Clint had gone their separate ways for good. Sam kept working, A Star is Born, 1883, keeping the spirit alive in quiet ways, holding on to what the cowboy once stood for. Clint kept directing, talking, dividing. To outsiders, it just looked like two old legends disagreeing. But to Sam Elliott, it was deeper. The death of a brotherhood that never truly existed. The moment when the cowboy stopped being a man of honor and became a brand. Robert Redford, the saint who sold virtue to Hollywood. If Clint Eastwood betrayed the West through politics, Redford did it through perfection. Handsome, brilliant, and forever glowing with that golden boy charm, he seemed untouchable. But to Sam Elliott, Redford wasn't a hero. He was a mask, a man wrapped in morals he didn't live by, the kind of hypocrisy that smiled while preaching purity. Behind closed doors, Sam used to call him the prince who talks like a preacher. Redford had built his reputation not just as an actor, but as Hollywood's moral compass, the guy who stood for art, integrity, and saving the planet. When he launched the Sundance Film Festival in 1981, it felt pure, a real haven for indie dreamers and outsiders trying to be heard. Sam respected that. It was noble, until the money arrived. By the early 2000s, Sundance wasn't a rebel's playground anymore. It was a red carpet with snow on it. Limousines clogged the streets, designer brands plastered every party, and the same studios it once opposed fought for selfies and headlines. Independent filmmakers whispered that they couldn't even afford to attend the festival made for them. Critics like Kenneth Turan from the Los Angeles Times said Sundance had become the luxury version of the Hollywood it once opposed. Sam didn't need the papers to tell him that. He'd seen it himself. "Go to Park City now," he once told a friend while filming on a ranch. "You don't smell film stock or sweat. You smell Chanel perfume and Tesla exhaust." Redford, meanwhile, kept giving polished speeches about simplicity and saving the earth, all while living across sprawling estates, from a 700-acre ranch in Santa Fe to a $7 million mansion in Napa Valley. When reporters called him out, he brushed it off with that same soft smile that had charmed Hollywood for decades. But for Sam, that smile was unbearable now. "He preaches like he's saving the world," Sam told a friend, "but he's just polishing his halo." In 2019, a bold editorial labeled Redford a Hollywood elite hypocrite. Sam didn't cheer, he just nodded, quiet but firm. To him, Redford had become the perfect face of Hollywood sickness. People who talked about truth but lived above it. Once, Sam had admired the man. Now he couldn't even stand near him. At an Oscars after-party in 2017, he walked in, saw Redford laughing beside Jane Fonda, and turned right back out. No words, no anger. Just done. A witness later said, he looked like a man who'd finally given up. Then came Kevin Costner, the polished cowboy who broke the code. In Sam Elliott's silent ranking of betrayal, Costner stood tall. To the world, he was Hollywood's modern cowboy, rugged, charming, magnetic. But to Sam, he was just an actor playing dress-up in borrowed boots. Their quiet feud started back in 1994, when two westerns rode into theaters months apart. Sam starred in Tombstone, gritty, raw, filmed on dust and sweat. Costner, meanwhile, produced and starred in Wyatt Earp, a glossy $60 million spectacle. Critics tore into it. The New York Times called it too polished, too clean, not enough dirt. Sam reportedly read that review on set and laughed. "That's Hollywood cowboys," he said. "They ride horses like they're afraid to wrinkle their jackets." From that day, an invisible wall rose between them. They never fought in public, but the tension was real. To Sam, Costner's fame was built on a studio-made version of the West. Perfect light, perfect dialogue, perfect hair. Nothing wild, nothing true. Decades later, when Costner returned as John Dutton in Yellowstone, that old resentment flared up again. The show exploded into a cultural phenomenon, hailed as the rebirth of the American Western. But Sam wasn't impressed. "They turned the West into a truck commercial," he told Vanity Fair. "Everyone's too clean, too beautiful, too fragrant." 3 months later, Costner fired back on Entertainment Tonight with a smirk that said everything. He'd heard the criticism and he didn't care. Sam thinks he owns the West. If so, maybe he should buy America too. The crowd roared with laughter, but Sam didn't crack a smile. He heard that clip while walking his horses through the Malibu hills and muttered quietly, "He thinks the West is an asset. I think it's a soul that's the difference, right there." For Sam, this wasn't just about movies, it was about honor. He'd spent his life guarding the quiet code of the cowboy: dignity, loyalty, silence. Meanwhile, Kevin Costner's off-screen chaos only deepened Sam's disgust. From his messy $80 million divorce in 1994 to endless whispers of affairs and lawsuits through the 2000s, Costner looked to Sam like a man trying to live the cowboy dream with a Hollywood rulebook. "A cowboy doesn't need lawyers to keep his honor," he once said on set. By 2023, Variety reported Costner's feud with Yellowstone creator Taylor Sheridan over filming schedules. And that was it for Sam. "Cowboys don't argue over schedules," he told fans at a Texas gathering. "They ride until the sun goes down." The crowd cheered, but for Sam it wasn't bravado. It was a reminder of what being a cowboy truly meant. Then came Benedict Cumberbatch, the outsider who dared to reinvent the West. If Costner had bruised Sam's pride, Cumberbatch straight up challenged his belief in what the West even was. For Sam, the West wasn't just a place or a movie backdrop, it was a way of life. You didn't act like a cowboy, you became one, through dirt, silence, and survival. So when Hollywood started calling a British actor the man who redefined the cowboy, it felt like the ultimate insult. Everything came to a head in February 2022 when Cumberbatch starred in Jane Campion's The Power of the Dog. The film stormed through awards season, 12 Oscar nominations, endless praise for its raw look at masculinity and repression. But on February 28th, Sam joined Marc Maron's WTF podcast and dropped a verbal thunderbolt. His gravelly tone carried disbelief. "I watched that movie," he said. "Naked cowboys riding horses, speaking in a British accent, and they call that the West. They know nothing about Montana." Within hours, headlines blew up. Sam Elliott versus the power of the dog. Social media exploded. Some hailed him as fearless, others accused him of bitterness. Cumberbatch, calm and collected, answered with grace. On the BAFTA red carpet, he simply said, "I respect all viewpoints. Art is meant to explore, not to possess." It was elegant, but it didn't soften the blow. What no one knew was that this clash had history. Back in 2019, Jane Campion had asked Sam to narrate a short intro for The Power of the Dog. He refused, sending one short email. "I won't tell a story about the West through the words of someone who doesn't understand it." When the film later became a global hit, that refusal hardened into conviction. Campion didn't stay silent either. At a Directors Guild of America event, she fired back, calling Sam a man of a past generation. The audience applauded. Sam didn't respond, but his silence said more than any statement could. To him, The Power of the Dog wasn't an exploration of the West. It was an emotional therapy session disguised as one. "They made it about feelings," he told a friend. "The West is about survival." Their paths crossed only once, after all that drama, at a post-Oscar party in Los Angeles. A waiter later said the air froze when they shook hands. Mr. Sam looked him straight in the eye, didn't smile, and walked away. That cold handshake became legend among younger fans. To them, Sam's anger seemed outdated, but to him, it was about something deeper. He wasn't fighting Benedict or Clint or Kevin anymore. He was fighting what Hollywood had become. Soft, polished, disconnected from the dirt and sweat that built the stories they were selling. Cumberbatch's calm charm couldn't change his mind. "You can't play a cowboy," Sam told a friend in Santa Fe. "You either are one or you're not." Taylor Sheridan, the man who branded the West and sold it to the highest bidder. Of all the people Sam Elliott grew to resent, Sheridan cut the deepest. Because unlike the others, Sam had once admired him, truly admired him. When Sheridan wrote Hell or High Water in 2016, a hard-edged modern western that scored 4 Oscar nominations, Sam sent him a handwritten note calling him the last man who still understands the Texas wind. Back then, Sam thought Sheridan got it. His dialogue was sharp but quiet, his characters raw and honest, the kind of writing that smelled like sweat, dust, and truth. It was what the West deserved. But 2 years later, that respect turned to ashes. In 2018, Sheridan launched Yellowstone, a glossy, high-budget TV drama that took over the world. It had Kevin Costner, million-dollar ranch sets, and sweeping camera shots that looked more like perfume ads than Western grit. Everyone loved it, everyone except Sam Elliott. He watched the first episode from his Malibu home and turned it off 15 minutes in. To him, it wasn't the West, it was a commercial with horses. "They turned the West into a premium version of Dallas," he told a friend, shaking his head. What truly burned Sam wasn't just the show, it was what it stood for. Sheridan wasn't just telling stories now, he was running an empire. He sold Yellowstone to Paramount for nearly $500 million, kept full creative control, and even leased out his own Texas ranch to the studio as a filming location. Industry insiders started calling him the double-dipping cowboy. Sheridan didn't deny it. In Men's Health, he snapped back, "I work for a living. If they need my horses, I rent them out. What's wrong with that?" To Sam Elliott, everything. "The West doesn't need props," he told a colleague in Austin. "It speaks through the dirt and the wind." Now they're staging it like a Broadway show. Their tension only grew when Sam agreed to star in 1883, Sheridan's prequel to Yellowstone. At first, it felt like destiny, a reunion of two men who understood what the frontier was all about. The early script was tough, honest, and brutal, but by the time Paramount finished editing, Sam saw what had happened. The rough edges were gone. The pain had been polished. "They turned blood into perfume," he muttered to a crew member on set. Critics praised 1883 as groundbreaking, but Sam felt betrayed. He believed Sheridan had used his weathered face, the face of a real cowboy, to sell something fake. When the series won at the Critics' Choice Awards, both men stood on the same stage, far apart. A Getty photographer said later, "Sam looked the other way." Sheridan stared at his phone. You could feel the frost. When Paramount invited Sam to join the sequel 1923, he didn't even hesitate. "I don't do films about the West that lack dirt," he said flatly. To the rest of the world, Sheridan was a visionary, reviving the Western for a new generation. But to Sam Elliott, he was its undertaker, a man who dressed the West up like a fashion label and sold it to city people who'd never held a rope in their lives. "They sell the West now," Sam once told a friend. Leather jackets for $1,000, resorts that look like ranches, actors who smell like cologne instead of cattle. He shook his head slowly. They took what was sacred and made it marketable. Sam Elliott never chased fame. He carried it like a quiet storm. When he finally spoke, people listened even if they didn't understand the weight of his words. Because for Sam, the West was never just a story, it was a promise. A code written in dust, sweat, and silence, a promise too many had broken. And the question still lingers, who do you think cut him the deepest? Clint Eastwood, Robert Redford, or Mark Maron? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, hit that like button if you felt something real, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories.